That's just the reality of it. I required myself to be successful. If everybody listening would require themselves to be successful at whatever they choose to do in life, they can absolutely do it.
This is Mitch, and welcome to the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. Mike Quarles is here with me, and this guy is an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. He has at least 6 businesses. Sometimes he can't even remember all of them, but somehow he gets it all done, and that's the sign of a true entrepreneur. Most of the entrepreneurs I know can keep about 15 balls in the air at the same time, and they wouldn't be happy if you took one of those balls off their plate. So, he just multitasking son of a gun at an entrepreneur down to the bone. And that's one of the people I like to talk to, is just people that are doing a lot at one time, because there's a lot of people out there that think you can't do that. I'm living proof, and you're about to meet Mike Quarles, who is living proof. I can't even remember all the businesses he listed, but among them, he has a phone company, a software company, a radio show. He's Yellow Letters. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to have this interview, because you don't meet very many people that have as much going on as you do. I find it fascinating because a lot of people want to know how I keep so many balls in the air, and I don't really know, but maybe we'll get to the bottom of it right now. Tell us a little bit about your background, and please take some time, because you're a big topic. So take your time and go through everything that you're involved in.
Well, I'm 56 years young, almost 57. I started my real estate career when I was an adult teenager. I was enlisted in the U.S. Air Force. They said they wanted me to be an intelligence officer, and I thought that was an oxymoron. While I was waiting for my enlist date, I opened up the newspaper. I looked in the real estate section, in the classified section, and there was a gentleman that had an R2 lot for sale. I had no idea what an R2 lot was, but I called him up anyway, and I ended up buying that R2 lot and falling in love with dirt. So I called my recruiter. I asked him if I could stop being an intelligence officer. He laughed at me, and here I am. And it has been a fun ride. I've easily bought over 1,000 houses. I'm a wholetailer, so it's a little different than a signer and a wholesaler, a fix and flipper, or a passive income. And California broker as well, general building contractor. I think I've done everything you can do with dirt. And I just enjoy it. As a serial entrepreneur, so I think 15 balls in the air, that's not enough. And people ask me all the time, says, what do you do for fun? And I said, well, I don't work. It's the old adage, I don't have any work in my work week, but all I do is work. And so, because I look at work as fun. And I'm a big believer in the idea, the E-myth, where we have entrepreneurs, we have managers, and we have technicians. We all start out as all of those, maybe. And we slowly climb to the top of that mountain. When we're at the top of that mountain, we can either fall off or go climb a bigger mountain. I choose to go climb a bigger mountain. So I'm a big believer in if you've been successful in one thing, you can take that and now go be successful in something else, because a true entrepreneur doesn't catch the balls. We just throw them in the air.
Yeah, that's right. Michener, there's a quote by Michener. It says, the master in the art of living doesn't know whether he's working or playing. There's no separation between his religion or his beliefs. To everyone else, and I'm not doing a very good job of quoting this, but to everyone else, they don't know whether he's working or playing, but to him, he's always doing both. And I think that describes you to a T, because our work is our fun and our challenge and our reward and our angst, and it's everything and all wrapped in one. And we continually keep growing, right? I think mostly it's about, we like to feel the growth inside of us. Is that pretty close?
When I started out, we all start out in the phase of, I want to make money for myself, right?
Right.
And then we transition into, I want to make money for myself and those that I love and care about, right?
Right.
So we have kids, get married, those kinds of things. We bring people along the way with us. And then we get to the point where I have enjoyed being, and that is, I'm making money for people I have yet to meet.
Wow.
And so,
a legacy.
And so when you get to that point, I think in life where you can start doing things for people you don't know yet, because I'm going to find someone that needs something that I have, that I've learned along the way, that I can help them be successful and succeed. And it's the little things in life that we help people with that magnify their growth. I would rather teach someone, it's the old adverbial, I'd rather teach them to fish than give them a fish. And so I enjoy that. I love the life. I love helping people that they just don't believe it's possible. They have a belief that in themselves that they want to make it possible. But it's the old Roger Bannister story where Roger Bannister was the first sub 4 minute mile. No one in recorded history had run a mile faster than 4 minutes. And here he did it one year. And the next year, there were a lot of people that did it. I want to be
immediately after he broke the 4 minute mile. It started getting broken like every week, because they had busted through that belief barrier that the belief couldn't be done.
If I could be my Roger Bannister for people in whatever they want to, whatever I believe, if I could give that to them so they can knock down their wall. I like that. That's my day. I tell people every day when I help them, they go, "Why do you take the time? You must be super busy." And I said, "This is my dessert of my day, when I get to talk to somebody and help them succeed." So I'm going to invite anybody that if they have a question, reach out.
Yeah, well, you can go to reinvestorsummit.com/Quarles, and let me spell it for you. Quarles. And that'll get you over, and Michael's going to put anything and everything he wants you to know about over there in that section, and you'll be able to follow up on any of the multitude of things we're probably about to talk about right now. So the rumor has it is that you invented the word WholeTailing. Is that true?
I'm going to brag that I did. Of course, there's probably 3 other people that say they did too. However, you really know, we're like the guy that invented the typewriter on the deserted island, only to find out that it had already been invented. And so, but I want to claim that WholeTailing it has a lot of misnomers. Like no one has yet really defined it from a large perspective, but it's a pretty simple process. We buy a house at as is value, a percentage of. We're selling it at 100% of as is value. We use real estate professionals. We're doing as many concurrent, simultaneous closes as we can, and it's a great formula. We are replacing the mentality of wholesaling, which is a different model. Instead of making a portion of the profits, we're making all the profits. And I know if we buy something at 35% off as is value, not after repair, so we don't look at ARV, and we sell it for 100% of as is, and we pay 8.25% to a real estate professional for closing and double closing costs and realtor fees. I have plenty left over, and I do that virtually, so I do that all across the country. And so I never knock on a front door anymore. We never see a house physically. Of course, we have people that see that house for us, but we never have to look at it because I don't care. I'm buying the model of as is. So if it as is at 100, as is at 200, as is at 50, I'm buying at a percentage of that. And because I have an appraiser saying that it is worth what we believe it to be worth, then I have a lienable document that I can tell a buyer that this is the value of the property, so they can go out there and borrow money on it.
Yeah, and because you know what it's worth, you start making your offers to clear yourself some room.
Right.
That's a barrier that's hard for people to break, is to be able to come to the conclusion that you can do this virtually. For me, that was really a big monumental thing.
And the reality is yes. And the reality is no. So if someone came to me and they might say, "Michael, you can't do that." Well, they're right. They can't do that. If they came to me and say, "Man, I can't believe you can do that," I said, "You're right. It's absolutely possible." So it's our belief system. So I have a system called the Alex, Ryan, and Angel. It's a call center. So I'll answer my phone and I'll answer other investors' phones. So a seller calls a phone number, and Alex answers. Now, an Alex is either a girl or a boy. I don't care. It's whatever the seller thinks they are when they call. Eventually, it's going to be someone. They're going to ask them a series of questions. When that Alex qualifies that seller to sell at least an 85 cents on the dollar offer, they're going to make an appointment for a Ryan, who's a negotiator. The Ryan can be a boy or a girl. Now, keep in mind, these are call center folks. The Ryan's going to go negotiate them less than 70 cents on the dollar. If it's a cash transaction, seller financing, sub-2, something simple, it won't go to the angel stage. But if it's something complex, it's going to go to an angel negotiator. And eventually, we're going to put it under contract. We're going to get a BPO, from a broker. It's going to cost me $150 to have someone walk out there and take pictures inside, outside the house, up and down the street, tell me what the market conditions are, what the days on market is, what a fast sell is, what the possible repair cost is. I'm going to have a home inspector go out, do the same thing from a home inspection perspective. I'm then going to have an appraiser go out and give me a full appraisal. And then I'm going to have a prelim done on the property to make sure that I have clear title or owner title. And from that, I'm going to spend $1,000. And at the end of the day, I'm going to make about $28,000 net average flipping these puppies. And I'm not going to fix it up. I'm not going to go to Home Depot. I'm not going to paint it. I don't have a lot of days on market because I'm selling it in as-is condition, and my buyer is a real estate investor who called a real estate agent up and said, I want to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath rental in the area. They say, great, you have to make 100% to 105% offers today. They're going to show my property that needs some TLC. The investor is going to say, I want to do that myself, some sweat equity. They're going to pay cash for it because, of course, it doesn't have any seasoning. And at the end of the day, I'm happy and they're happy too because they get an undervalued piece of property that they can convert from as-is to ARV. And so everybody in the ballgame is pretty happy and satisfied.
So you make that sound easy, but how long did it take to figure out that system with the Alex, Ryan, and Angel?
Oh, gosh, that system, just the systemization and the CRM and the tagging and what you do when they say this and what you do when they say that took us, I don't want to say 5 years, but close. And once we developed it, because it can't just say, well, I want to answer the phone and do something with it, because there's so many different variables. And once we placed the reasoning behind all the variables, as an example, the Alex script is 16 pages long. Because if you're a seller and I'm an investor and I say, do you have a house you're hoping to sell? And you say no, I have to have the next question, correct? Well, if you say yes, I have to have the next question. If you say I'm not sure, I have to have the next question. Well, every question, every answer creates another question. Our Ryan script is 23 pages long. Our Angel script is a book, because then you have the variables of different types of financing and how you're backing into them and causing a successful close and ultimately a reclose. Now, we're not passive investors, so we're not buying terms and selling terms. We're liquidating terms on our resale. So it's a pretty good model for both the seller and us. And very little cash involved in purchasing. There are times, yes, we'll take out our checkbook and close on the promised date that we promised. And but that's okay too. That's rare. We're going to do a lot of simultaneous close. People say you can't do it. People say you can't list a house before you own it, and they're all wrong. There are ways to do it in every jurisdiction. And again, it goes back to the adage: if you believe you're right, you're right. If you believe you're wrong, you're wrong. And our coaching students in our coaching program, one of the tests they have is to go and find a closing company that will do a sub-2 loan. And some of them will come back and say, I can't find anybody to do a sub-2 loan. And we'll get that same person that they spoke to on the telephone and ask them our questions. And every time they say, oh yeah, we do those all the time. And that's the difference between believing you can do something and also knowing you can do something and disbelieving or doubting you can do something. That doubt word, I look at it a lot like the wish, the want, the need word, the hope words. Those are all wishing words. And a lot of people carry those 4 words around with them that create a lot of doubt when they're talking to somebody. I hope they'll do it. I wish they'd do it. I need them to do it. I want them to do it. Well, I require them to do it. And there's a difference when you start requiring action instead of hoping action takes place. And that's why I drive a Rolls Royce. I mean, you know what? At some point, and that's not bragging, that's just the reality of it. I required myself to be successful. If everybody listening would require themselves to be successful at whatever they choose to do in life, they can absolutely do it. Now, you look at Jeff Van Gundy. He's 4 feet, nothing tall. I'm sure he's never dunked a basketball in his life, but he was the head coach of an NBA basketball team. So if Jeff Van Gundy could run an NBA team, then anybody on this call can do anything they want to do.
I agree 100%. That's a good example. Tell me about that course, that lesson plan. How does someone get involved with you on that?
Well, we have a couple coaching programs, because one of the things I like doing is helping people succeed. They're not expensive. I've made sure that I've made my money. I can't spend it all. So I have to share my knowledge, but I only want to share it with people that are participating. So I'm not going to give it away. So there's 2 coaching programs. We have a full coaching company. I get on the phone. We have about 60 classes a month. I get on the phone and teach some of them. So I have other coaching trainers that are teaching them. It's all organic, meaning it's all inside of my office. So what I'm not doing, and it's okay that if some people have this business model, that's great. What I'm not doing is hiring other coaches to coach my students. We're coaching our students. And because we're active investors, we put a house under contract pretty much every day. That doesn't mean we're going to close on it. We're going to make sure it can perform prior to close, which is an important skill set. But because I'm an active investor all across the country, I can walk the talk and talk the walk, I guess, and know what I'm talking about. Because what we did 10 years ago before it crashed, or right after it crashed, I guess, is different than what we're doing today. And in fact, the technology that we have today makes buying houses both more difficult and more easy. And if we don't realize that some of the technology that we have, just like this technology that we're using right now to see each other, and you do have more hair than I do, in case anybody's wondering.
Barely. I'm on my way there. Don't count me out. I can catch you.
Well, you know what? I shaved my head. God got mad at me and took the rest of it. So, he goes, okay, you're going to shave. I'm just going to take it all. So I shaved it before I was bald. But anyway, nevertheless, I digress. Technology is changing our marketplace. What it does is it has allowed the seller to have some estimates and have some knowledge that they may have not had 15 years ago. But it's also given us that same knowledge, right? So now I can buy virtually because I can cross country. I don't have to physically see it because I have the tools of technology which allow me to see the property and have a boot there. And the beautiful things about real estate professionals, we call them realtors, is they're willing to work at a lot less percentage than what I'm willing to work. I'm wanting to work at 35%. They're willing to work at 6%. I think that's a beautiful relationship. So I'm going to hire one to work for their 6%. I'm going to make them a superstar because I'm going to give them multiple opportunities in my marketplace. If I give a realtor 10 deals a year, that's a superstar realtor in his market, besides what he's already or she's already doing. So I'm going to make a superstar out of them. They're going to love me for doing it. They're going to be my boot on the ground. So I don't have to be in that backyard. And when we look at a hot market, I look at a trending market. So I want a market that has rent values that will support a mortgage median payment. So whatever the median value of a house is in a marketplace, let's call it $200,000. If I have a 5% a 30-year mortgage at 5%, and I have a rent that is equal to that, or $100 per 100,000 as a step, then I'm going to hit that market. When I hit that market, I'm going to run what we call a marketing algorithm. So we have a double layer algorithm that I run on a market. Sorry if I'm getting long-winded. You cut me off anytime you want. It's an algorithm where I look at how many purchases for cash by an absentee owner, how many units per zip code, what my REO inventory is, what my pre-foreclosure inventory is, my days on market, what my median value is, how many units in median value or less have a 30% equity position. Of those, how many are in the bottom third, middle third, and top third? I run a shotgun algorithm and I run a laser algorithm. I lay those two algorithms over each other, and I know exactly where in that marketplace to spend my marketing dollar. And the nice thing about that is I can travel with that as markets turn. So in our country, we have snow some places, and some places we don't have snow. So I'm not going to market in a heavy snow climate when it's snowing. I'm going to wait till it dries out. But during that period of time, I don't want to starve either. So I need to move to a market I can market to. And so with virtual buying, when you understand the scope of the algorithms and how to determine a market, it works well. And I don't mean virtual like from India. I mean virtual from the United States of America. And our time zones we're in California here, so it's 8 o'clock when it's 8 o'clock, and when it's 8 o'clock here, it's 5 o'clock for some people. It's not a big deal. And we use DocuSign. Again, we never meet our seller. We just give a closing company our cash. We typically, our buyer gives the closing company our cash. We instruct it to go to our purchase and give us the difference. So it's a good model.
Well,
it's taken a lot of time to set up, so it's seamless. And one of the nice things, and I talked about my Alex, my Angels, and my Ryans, I can train an Alex who's never thought about buying a house, who's never bought a house, who's all of 18, 19, 20, 22 years old, to sit in an Alex chair to answer the phone in 4 hours, and she will get me opportunity because we're asking her to go by a script. Alex has turned into Ryan's. So if you've been an Alex for 3 or 4 months and you have the ability to become a Ryan, now I have a Ryan who's never bought a house, never wanted to buy a house, who's actually now negotiating to buy houses. And the angels are Ryans who've grown up as well. And then we have TCs that run the transaction. It's pretty seamless. So I'm the true entrepreneur that buys houses. So I can be on vacation, which is called work for everybody else, and do something else, juggle something else, and still buy houses every day.
So I think anyone listening to this could see the value. Why would you want to go try to figure this out by yourself when you could completely jumpstart this whole thing and learn from a guy who spent 5 years perfecting scripts, perfecting hiring, perfecting all the different answers to all the different questions? Probably using a lot of NLP, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's hard to use an NLP over the phone, but it's absolutely possible. We use a lot of, the scripts are all about embedded commands, pacing, mimicking, some positive and negative reinforcement. So if I asked you what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. Really? Wow. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. Wow, that's a great color. So you answered a question. I followed it by a routine in how I want you to think about the next question I ask. So I'm going to make you feel good about it, feel bad about it. But when you look at like pacing for a second, a lot of people fall over themselves in pacing. A lot of people fall over themselves in mimicking. A lot of people don't understand embedded commands. If I tell you as an example, as an investor, when I buy your house today, when we agree on a price, when you agree to sell me your house today, and I hand you your money on the day of your choice after we agree, during an entire conversation, so I'm not saying it that fast, but if I say it 8 times during our conversation, guess what you're going to do?
Yeah, you're taking an assumptive close, and a lot of people will just follow you right to the closing table.
They'll follow me right to the closing table, but better, yes, they won't call my competitor. Because you don't order 2 pizzas when you order a pizza or from 2 different companies. You call up so-and-so's pizza parlor. If they said, well, we're out of cheese and our delivery guy hasn't showed up yet, and I'm not sure if we can do it tonight, you're going to call someone else who's going to say, so you want a large combination? We'll be there in 45 minutes. Well, I have to have that same concept with my seller. I have to teach them to stop asking somebody else so I can be their only choice. And I'm their best choice, by the way. I'm their best choice at a less value than someone else will promise them because the other person promised them can't perform. It's the only reason people give higher offers than they should is because they think they have to use higher offers to allow the coaxing of a contract. I don't. I can use my systems to allow for that. What I'm looking for is mass. I'll let another investor overpromise, overpay, so I then can go do the deals that they can't do because they've overpromised and overpaid. And I'm in a better position. And if you look at $5,000, people don't think it's like a lot of money. But if you look at $5,000 as an example, and you can buy 200 houses a year, I know that's $1 million. So if I can save $5,000 on every contract because I know what I'm doing, and you have to pay $5,000 more on every contract you do, I've made $1 million. Now, how far will my $1 million go? And you've just paid $1 million too much, by the way. And how far will yours go?
They don't have theirs anymore, so theirs is going nowhere. They spend it already.
Or they're over leveraged now. They can't do the next one, and they lose sight. They lose that initiative. They lose that drive. We're all investors because we saw something. We had an imagination of something. We decided, gosh, this is what I want to do because this is the answer to my problem. This is the remedy for whatever it is that caused us to be a real estate investor. Because we don't become real estate investors because we like front doors. We become real estate investors because we don't like the front door we walk through every morning to go to work. So we become real estate investors to solve a problem. And if we get on our way and realize that we can't solve our problem through real estate, we're going to get out of real estate. And that's shame on them. Because if you just follow the systems are going to keep you in real estate. Then you can go have the business that you want, or have not another business, but just have a real estate business. I bought houses from other countries. I've bought houses from states, and been on vacation, whatever that is. Although my wife she's asked me the other day, Mike, when are we going to go on vacation? And I said, baby, I just got back from one. She says, no, when are we going to go? Like, when do I get to go and lay out by the pool? And I said, baby, there's a pool in the backyard, hon. We got this thing in the backyard. And she looks at me, she knows. So, but that's the reality. It's life-changing if you do it right, and it's life destruction if you do it wrong, without a doubt.
I'm a believer in channels. Like I have 3 or 4 acquisition managers. Sometimes I have 5. It kind of goes up and down sometimes, but you find a core group of people that seem to hang around for a long period of time eventually. And what I'm always doing is looking for another channel. So, I'm contemplating right now, after talking to you, finding the right person, sending them to you so they can open up that channel of virtual wholetailing in my office. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have to really know how to do it. I just need to find the right guy. I'll send him to you. He come back, we'll report every day what we're learning, what we're doing, what do we got to set up, what do we need, and set up the deal and get someone in the chair working that channel. So all my acquisition managers have different highways they're traveling on, and none of them are overlapping someone else's highway. Like if someone's working tax liens and no one else in the office is working tax liens, I don't want to compete against myself. And so I give everyone these different channels, and you've got me seriously thinking about right now sending someone to you, or finding the person to send to you to train, so I can open up virtual wholesaling as another highway in my organization.
Now, remembering that I'm being a systems guy, that what I want is not extraordinary people. I want ordinary people inside of an extraordinary system. Because when I have an ordinary person who is now extraordinary because of the systemization, I can put anybody there. And my business doesn't live or die based upon someone's extraordinary ability. So if I put so-and-so who's just average, I want them to be average. I want them to love their job and sit and ask questions, follow the road, lead down the road. Then if they go away, because they will, everybody's going to go and do something else in life. We know that. And I promote it. In fact, everybody in my office can be a real estate investor in my backyard using my systems. I don't believe in competition. They're called benchmarks for me. But if I have an ordinary person in an extraordinary system, and that ordinary person quits, I can replace them. But if a business has an extraordinary person with no systems, that person's the business. The business owner may think they own it, but the moment that extraordinary person goes away, let's call them LeBron James. When LeBron decided to go from Miami to Cleveland, from Cleveland to LA, guess what happened to those teams? They're no longer professional, quote unquote, great basketball teams, because their extraordinary employee left. Well, I want a team of just Steve Kerrs, just average people working an extraordinary system, because I know when I do that, I don't care who goes away. Doesn't mean I'm undercompensating them. I'm just not relying on them. I'm relying on the systems. And a system will constantly change. That's fine. But you won't live and die based upon a person's performance. And so I like that.
I always tell people, when I'm hiring people, I don't want people that want to be me. I want people that want to do the job that I have.
Right.
And I want them to excel at it, and I want them to exceed whatever pay they were making before they met me, and I want them to move up the up the ladder, and I want them to have fun. And but the same as you, like if it's time for them to go, or they think they want to go start their own thing, I'm not holding anybody back. I mean, you'll all have the right to go try to better yourself. So, but I like what you're saying. You've got it set up to where you just close that chapter out, bring in a new person, start over again. And I'm curious about one question. Are you using overseas people because of the?
These are all, they're in, if we panned outside of my office through this door that we can't, this wall we can't see through, you would see 7,000 square feet of facility, and you would see people working there. And they're They're here. The reason I do that, I don't believe in virtual employees, although I do have them in my phone company. I like, especially when you're looking at the low-end labor pool. That's not a criticism. It's just the fact. When you're looking at that low-end labor pool, you really need they need and you need community. They need the pat on the back. They need the reinforcement that they're doing a great job. I need to be able to give that to them and see them do that great job. We're not talking about extraordinary jobs. We're talking about great jobs, and there's a difference. And so, no, they're all in my backyard. They're all here. And they start out as an employment service temp serve person. So I hire it from a temp serve company that has gone through the drug tests and the screening tests and, the IQ tests kind of stuff. And we put them in a chair. And after 700 or so hours, they become a full-time employee for me. And it works great. And I like it. It fits what I want to do. Now, all of this is driven by marketing. So
everything's driven by marketing.
Yeah. Well, even the guy that goes out of business, his going out of business sign is marketing.
Yeah.
So without marketing done correctly, none of this is possible because I can't, there was a movie with Kevin Costner a long time ago, if you build it, they'll come. It's a fairy tale. If you build it and market it for them to know it's there, they'll come. So all business is driven by marketing, and it's how we do it that's appropriate. I use a lot of direct mail. So I know what my prospect looks like. I know that they have 30% equity in their house or longer. I know they have 5 years of ownership or longer of that property. I know that house is a single family because that's my market. That's what I do. I know that value of the property does not exceed the median value in that city. So if that city's median is 238, which is what mine is, that's the maximum house value I'm going to market to. And I'm going to use what I call cluster marketing. So cluster marketing is a lot like a shopping center and a lot like a car auto dealership center where you have, BMW through Rolls-Royce pickups and Fords and Chevys and all that all together. So that's called cluster marketing. So I'm going to market to them using direct mail 6 different ways each month. So 1 month it'll be this way. Next month it'll be a different way. For a 6-month period, I'm going to recycle my list after that because enough people have fallen off and other people will now get on the list. And I'm going to touch them. I'm going to touch them. I'm going to touch them. But cluster marketing works great because here's what happens. If I were going to say vehicle, what vehicle brand do you like the most?
Porsche.
Okay, there you go. And quite frankly, Porsche and Rolls-Royce are the same company. So we have something in common because I like Rolls-Royces. So if I knew that you like Porsche, in my marketing piece, if I started talking about Porsches, you would be more apt to read it, correct?
Right.
But next month, if I sent out a BMW advertisement, I now attract all the BMW people. So 1 month I got the Porsche people, 1 month I got the BMW people. Well, when in the house buying business, of course, we're not car lots. In the house buying business, I'm doing that same thing with different mail pieces. So 1 month I'm talking to the person that likes this type of mail piece, another month this type, and this type. And what we know is until there's a top of mind need, until selling their house is top of mind, they're not even going to notice the mail piece in the first place. But where a quote unquote professional person won't like a handwritten letter, vice versa for the so-called quote unquote non-professional person, where a person who's used to just going through their mail real quick will like a postcard. They don't want to open letters. That works for them. Zip letters work for those folks. So we do what we call cluster marketing. We do a lot of pay-per-click. Pay-per-click's great for motivation, lousy for opportunity, meaning that we don't know that you or me.
Time to sell a house.
Hang on. Someone's calling me. I apologize about that.
No. That's real life. I like it. Just leave it in. Stuff happens, right? So,
well, on my phone company, because I use it for phones, CRM, email, text, web forms, sign-ups, scheduling, all that kind of stuff. I have pings in my ear that I hear. I feel like I'm back in the day when I worked at McDonald's to date the manager. But anyway, there's different sounds at a McDonald's that you would hear if you're an employee. Well, in my ear, I can hear different sounds going off that tell me I just made money and how I made it, because I know every time that ping happens, we make money. One of the things that people should realize they need to do is we need to track how many phone calls does our marketing make, or opportunity, how many opportunities to a check in the bank, and realize that every time the phone rang, it cost me $200, and every time the phone rang, I made $4,000. And when they know those two numbers, they'll want that phone to ring as many times as they can, assuming that they have a lead capture system. So we have lead generation, lead capture, lead nurturing, and lead fulfillment. They all have to work together. But if we have a good capturing system, I want to generate as much as I can. And when an investor knows those two numbers, what it costs to make it ring, what does it make when it rings for me, they'll just make it ring as much as they can.
Well, man, you are a fascinating person. You really have my attention. One of the reasons I like to do what I do, coaching people, doing interviews, is I learn so much from the people that I come in contact with. I used to think that I was out there blessing everyone with my knowledge, but it was very short order. I figured out that I was learning as much as I was delving out. Sometimes in the conversation, I'm 90% of the conversation, or bringing 90% of the value to the conversation, because that's what they pay me to do, because they're really kind of green. But inadvertently, and more often than not, because I have hundreds of people that I communicate with on a daily basis sometimes, or at least on a monthly basis, they're feeding me or giving me new ideas all the time that without the platform that I operate on, I would never be privy to. It keeps me sharp. It keeps me in tune. It keeps me up to date on new technology and what's going on. I'm not the most technological person in the world, but I have learned to delegate it. I can map things out in my mind. I can't do the programming, but I can hire the people to program for me what I want to get done. And I just find it fascinating that yet again, here I am talking to a person clear across the country, and I'm both, I'm kind of in awe, really, because you've done a facet of the business that I haven't done. I've actually been scared of that virtual wholesaling, but you're starting to change my mindset already.
Well, all one has to do, if there's a little bit of fear, is do it in their own backyard. So they could drive by the house if they really needed to or wanted to. But when we start virtual buying in our own neighborhood, then we realize, wait a second, if I never met the seller, if I never met the closing company, if I've never met the real estate agent, if I've never met the home inspector, then I can do this anywhere. And that's the power of it. When I fired myself several years ago, that was the biggest benefit I gave. That was the biggest present and benefit I gave myself. It was the hardest thing for me to do because, of course, we're better than anybody else, right?
Yeah, so you think.
So I fired myself. I was still standing in the background watching and go, God, I would have done it that way. I would have done it that way. So what? And what I realized is, okay, so maybe I was a little bit more talented in my mind than I was actually, in reality. But so maybe in my mind, I thought, okay, they're 60% of me. Okay, great. If I hire 2 of me, then I have 120% of me. If I have 4 of me, well, I have 2.5 times as many as me. And now I can have 50 employees, and each one of them have a task they're responsible for. And each day, someone tells me how much money I put in the bank. And that's cool. So I'm no longer a slave to that job. Yes, I'm the responsible guy that gets up every day and puts them on the line. And that's okay. I like that concept. I like that fight.
Okay, I'm fixing to ask you a question you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Is $50,000 a day profit possible in your business?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, easily.
Profitable every day, 5 days a week?
At 7. Yeah, I don't look at 7. I mean 5 days. I look at 7-day cycles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So $50,000 profit per day, 7 days a week for every day that's possible in your business.
And especially in the wholesaling business.
Yeah.
Yep. That's only 2 houses.
Have you achieved that or better?
I achieved that now or better.
Okay, now or better. Okay, I didn't want to get real specific, but I wanted to paint the picture. We're talking to a guy who, whether you want to believe it or not, has developed a system that can make at least $50,000 a day profit. Now, that's a big stretch for a lot of people, but one of the first steps is to get social proof. Now, me talking to him may not be all the proof that you need yourself. For me, I have intuitions. I read people pretty good. I have no doubt that you are. And from what I know, I have no doubt that you are. You're going to probably hear more from me because I'm probably headed in your direction.
And now I don't want to make everybody that's listening feel like I'm a prude or unrealistic. But
you don't start out like that. You don't start out like that. I get it.
Well, $50,000 isn't a lot of money, and that's where our mind has to change. As an example, when I met my wife, beautiful lady, she was a school teacher for 29 years before I convinced her she never has to teach school again. And she would work 60, 70 hours a week as a school teacher, and her net per month was like $4,500. When I was going, of course, I couldn't belittle her. I didn't want to put her down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was like, babe, can I show you a check that I got today? She said, well, where'd you get that? I said, that's what I do. She says, well, how long did it take you to do that? Every day, kind of thing. And it's hard for people that live in that rut to realize that they can get out of that rut. Because a lot of us look at it and go, gosh, if I could just double my $4,500, I make twice as much money as I'm making now. And I look at that and I go, if you can do that, then you should be telling yourself you do more than that. Because I'm not doing it. Meaning I'm not doing it. I'm not talking to a seller. I'm not talking to a buyer. I'm not talking to a real estate professional. I'm not talking to a home inspector. I'm making sure I have people that do speak to them and follow a routine and a system that causes success. Does it cause success all the time? No. But I would be a fool to think it would. But what it does do, allow me to do this. And then as an entrepreneur, we need to always be thinking about our business and working on it, thinking about how we can change it because the market changes. We need to forecast it in advance so we know to maximize labor, lay off labor, get more labor, and the routines around that. We can't be stuck in the rut because when we're stuck in the rut, we can't see outside the trees. That's the saying. Well, a true entrepreneur looks outside of it. And I go to work with everybody every day. I welcome everybody that works here every day. Right now, if you could see me, I'm in flip-flops and shorts. And I don't need to wear a suit and tie. I don't need to pretend I'm somebody else. And I enjoy the life. So,
man, what a great story. For all of y'all that have been listening, if you find this an intriguing conversation, you want to learn more about Michael Quarles, just go to reinvestorsummit.com/Quarles, QUARLES, and find out all the different things this man has to offer. We've just barely scratched the surface of what this man has accomplished in his life and what he's doing. We talked about one tiny little segment that makes him a big living, and that's WholeTailing, virtual WholeTailing. And I would like to thank all of y'all out there for taking the time to stop by and get you some Michael Quarles. Michael, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners before we part?
Yes, I would. And earlier I spoke about the 4 words that I stopped using in my life, and they are need, want, hope, and wish. So anybody that's listening, if you use those words to describe something you want to do or want to accomplish in life, remove those 4 words and now use the word require. So if you wanted to be successful before, now require yourself to be successful, and you will be.
Stop. Give me those 4 words again.
The 4 words: hope, want, wish, and need.
Okay.
Replace those 4 words with the word require. Because you know what? You know that when you're in a fight, maybe that fight's dramatic. It's for your life. In that fight, you don't say, I wish I win. I hope I win. I need to win. I want to win. You say in that fight, I require to win. And this is our fight. This is our fight. You can either stay in the proverbial job, or you can require yourself to get out of it. And I'll help them get out of it. is I've done it. I've systemized the getting out of it. That's all I have. Pretty simple guy.
Yes, there you go. You need to follow up and talk with a man that has systematized getting out of it. The JOB, that is. All right. Thank you all for stopping by to get you some Michael Quarles. This is Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. I think this was a great interview, Michael. Thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. We are out of here. Till next time.